Yeah. Good. I'd like to call the regular board meeting to order on December 19th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Jerry Daly.
Here.
Trustees Richmond. Present. Priest.
Here.
Duberstein. Here. Koval. Here. And Williams.
I'm here.
All right, with that quorum, need a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond. Aye. Priest.
Aye.
Duberstein. Aye. Koval. Aye. And Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. We have the remote presentation from Scott Termine and Forbes, our auditors, for the annual financial report, which you received electronically and you have a hard copy in front of you, which hopefully will make it easier to follow along. I'm going to play a little bit here as I put the microphone near the phone, and we'll see if we can all hear Scott. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. For a few minutes to cover the audit tonight. Can everyone hear me okay?
Okay, hang on a second, Scott. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're good to go, Scott.
Very good. Well, thanks again to you all, and special thanks to Kelly for all her work preparing for the audit. I understand that we do have a few new trustees for tonight's meeting, first presentation of the audit. So I'll just clarify that the village is required to undergo an audit under state statute. So that's the reason why we go through this process. And for this year, I'll note that the village is subject to a few new audit requirements from the state of Illinois that apply to the village this year because you spent over $500,000 combined in state and federal funds for your fiscal year 23. The biggest portion of that spending was from the ARPA funding, which was about $480,000. And because of that, there's an additional consolidated year-end report that you have to prepare for the state on your spending, and we have to provide an opinion on that schedule. And then you are also required to have the 2023 audit conducted under generally accepted government auditing standards, which requires us to provide a new report on internal controls over financial reporting. And the mayor has indicated that we'll discuss that at the next meeting. So for tonight, I'll just give a brief overview on the financial statement and touch on a few highlights with those items. So for those of you that have been through the audit review before, you will recall that I always encourage you to read the management discussion and analysis at the beginning of the financial statement. This section provides a nice overview of the financial statement and explains the report format. It has some summarized comparative financial information along with narratives explaining several key items. So I'll certainly encourage the newer trustees to give that a read. It's certainly easier to digest and probably easier to understand on some of the numbers themselves and some of the disclosures. So as you get into the financial statement report, the first main item in the document is going to be our auditor's report. And for 2023, that is again what we refer to as an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statement. So that is the best form of opinion that you can receive. It means that we found all the financial statement amounts and disclosures to be properly stated in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles.
Scott, page number?
That's going to be pages 1 through 3 in the hard copy, or starting at page 6 of the PDF if you're working with that. We do note in the auditor's opinion with an emphasis of matter paragraph that's on the first page about midway down. is that for the first time, the village as a lessor is recognizing a receivable from your cell tower leases. And those approximate $350,000. So as we get into the financial statements, those will begin at page 14 in the hard copy and page 21 in the PDF document.
We're all working off the hard copy.
Okay, very good. So page 14. The statement of that division is the first statement that you'll come to. This schedule takes all of the village's assets, including your infrastructure, plus other deferred outflows, totaling about $18.7 million. And we then reduce that by your liabilities and deferred inflows of roughly $1.3 million to arrive at the bottom at the village's ending net position of about $17.3 million.
And this,
And most
I'm
of
sorry,
that,
Scott.
as you look at that bottom section, most of that is roughly $13.4 million is invested in capital assets and infrastructure. And then you have some other restricted uses from outside parties.
Scott?
And that leaves you with what we refer to as the unrestricted net position at the bottom of about $3.7 million.
Scott?
Many, yeah.
And I just want to emphasize that this is all of, as of April 30th, 2023. It's a picture from, a snapshot of that day.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So many municipalities have seen that bottom unrestricted amount of $3.7 million move into a negative balance because of outstanding bonds and pension liabilities. In the case of the village, you only had a note payable of about $50,000 outstanding in April 30th of 2023, which you did pay off after year end. Otherwise, the only long-term liability to note relates to the IMRF plan, where you moved in fiscal year 23 from a net asset position to a net pension liability amount of about $134,000. IMRF measures that liability on a calendar year basis. So during 2022, the plan had investment losses that reduced the value of investments that are available to fund the projected pension liability. So that's how you end up with that $134,000 liability. And while pension funding does continue to be a significant consideration for most municipalities, your plan is relatively small due to staff size, and the $134,000 liability is significantly less than most municipalities deal with. So that's why you're able to remain in that positive, unrestricted net position that I referred to earlier. So on a positive note, something that you're more familiar with following throughout the year is going to come up on page 16, where we get into the individual fund financial statements. And on page 16, we have the general fund presented in the first column. The general fund is maintaining a very healthy fund balance of approximately $1.7 million. And that's about 89% of your annual expenditures for the fund, again, as of April 30th, 2023. That's almost 11 months worth of expenditures, and I always like to remind you that as a best practice, the GFOA suggests that you maintain no less than 2 months worth of expenditures within the general fund. So you're certainly staying well above that level. So that's just important to know, gives overall perspective. And again, here at this level in the fund statement, you will see at the bottom of the asset section that lease receivable of about $350,000 being recognized for the first time under that new accounting standard that I referenced. So that's the most significant change that came about see if there's any questions or anything else that you would like me to clarify or drill down on perhaps a little further within the financial statement.
Pam, anything?
Just one general question. Most audit reports I've read have the name of the audit firm listed in there somewhere, and I didn't see that in this. Is there a cover page or something that gets accompanied with the audit?
Yeah, when we finalize the document, that will be on our letterhead, and it will be on the last page of the report, page 3, has the space there for the signature that you'll see on that final copy. So we bring this to you in draft format. We have this discussion tonight. The document has already been approved by both village management and has been through our review process. So, barring any questions or changes, the document will be finalized as is.
Molly, any questions? No. Joanne? Mary? Doug?
Yeah. Hello, good evening. You mentioned that we have about 12 months of reserves and 2 months is recommended.
11 months.
Yeah.
11 months reserves, I'm sorry. 11 months, right. Is there any downside to having that big of reserves versus a little bit smaller? I mean, does that impact us in any negative way?
So it just gives you additional cushion, so to speak, and if you look at the first financial statement again, you do see that most of the position there on page 16, you've got almost all of that sitting in available cash investment. So sometimes because of various accruals, that doesn't always equate to the cash position, but in your case, it very much approximates that. So it's good to have that level of reserve.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, those were really the highlights that I wanted to touch on within the financial statements. If there's no other questions there.
Anything else? All right, Scott, thank you very much, sir. Have yourself a good evening, and we'll leave shortly.
You too, thank you all again for your time tonight, and I hope you all have a happy, healthy holiday season.
You too, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Any public comments? Mr. Barrett?
Mayor, Village Board, good evening. Two quick comments. Number one, I have to thank the mayor and our public works group for, number one, just pulling just a rabbit out of the hole for us with my D-box broke and my house shut down and I had no water and the public works guys did a great job. Robinson did a great job. Number two, last week Thursday, I was approached by my new neighbor who lives just up the street from me, and she had an issue with a group of 4 men in 2 cars going through parked cars, trying to break into them, and they all parked down in front of my house. And I heard something going on because I'm a night owl guy from BB Trucker, and she said that she reported it to police, but I haven't seen any notice of the village at all, and I'm just wondering if this is something like robbery crews that were out roaming through Antioch, because she said she was going to go out and confront them, and I said, don't do that. And she said she talked to a detective from Grays Lake PD, and she hasn't heard anything back since then. So she lives in Troy Manley's old house, just around the corner from the Chambers. So unfortunately, her video was down at the time, and I've gone out and I've now made the investment in putting video system in my house just to, is this an ongoing thing that's going on in the village right now, or what do we see?
All right, I can address that. I think it was a week ago Monday. There was a two-car crew going through the village. They were caught on a number of ring cams.
Okay.
One ring cam showed one of the individuals had a weapon. The police were in town, saw them and gave chase. They bolted, and the license plate came back to a stolen car. And because of typical police department policy, practice, our county's, state's attorney's recommendation, the chase was broken off so as not to risk human
Oh, yeah,
life.
no, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Officer safety is foremost.
So most of the reports that came in, and in the month of November also, there were 7 reports of cars being entered and 1 report of a stolen vehicle. And according to the police reports, all of them were unlocked. The police are watching for them. As you know, even if we have 2 squads in car or in town, they can only be in 2 places at one time. There was a car stolen in Cranberry North 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, a week and a half ago. Gentleman took his car out of the garage, parked it outside, left it running to warm it up. Another vehicle drove by, 1 got out, 2 vehicles drove away. So it is definitely going.
It's wintertime, people do that, they don't lock it back up again once they start.
We've got it on our website. It goes out in newsletters, just reminding people to lock their cars. It's my discussion with police chief is if people lock their cars, these people wouldn't be coming around as much. Cars have not been, the ones that I'm aware of that have been reported have not been broken into. They've just been entered because they were unlocked. All right?
Yeah, as he's going to confront them, I'm going,
No,
absolutely not.
especially if they have weapons. Please encourage the resident that if she has any questions, give us a call.
I did. I told her, talk to you guys and to, call Chief Berlini and, Deputy Chief, Myra, and, say, listen, this is what I saw. Unfortunately, my video system didn't work, so I can't help you with, more info. I told her, do not go out and confront them. So this is something I haven't seen in town here lately, and now that I'm home more, I'm paying closer attention to what's going on in the community, so.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Couldn't we pass an ordinance or something that everybody keep their garage lights on at night? It's so dark in the village.
My initial reaction would be probably not, but I can check with our attorney.
If you go down the streets, it's
They're dark.
Yeah, it's very dark.
We, might have even been when you were on the board, Kevin, we looked into the possibility of putting more streetlights in.
Yeah, what happened?
The cost was
Prohibitive.
extravagant.
The cost of the poles, it wasn't the lights, it was the poles.
Well, and
And
running
wiring.
the power to it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that unfortunately we refer to as the Deer Point difference. When our neighborhoods were built, they were built on a less expensive model. They could have had better lighting. I'll leave it at that, but that's not what we're dealing with. So
It's not that costly to put a second light on your garage, and I light my driveway with 3 100-watt LED lamps, and they don't use any current at all.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
When we put in LED lights in all of the street lights, it does light up a larger area than it had before.
But there's still so few
But
light
it's,
posts.
It's not enough.
and it helps a little.
All right, thank you. All right, comments. Need a motion to, for the consent agenda? So moved. Roll call.
Trustees Richmond? Aye. Priest?
Aye.
Hubersing?
Aye.
Vogel? Aye. And Williams?
Aye.
All right, the reports, finance, Mary, Kelly.
Everything's under business for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Public Works, Wally.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for your words and the kind words.
Tim did a great job. Tim did a great job.
Department. Yeah, we do have a good
Although
group
James
going.
Hawes at 6:45 in the morning, you know, taking out part of my cherry tree.
But, yeah, I kind of worked with them, we're working on this development of this area over here, and we got the holiday displays up there, did some work with them, and stuff like that, modified them. And I think the area looks pretty good. I mean, it's a development, and we're gonna be building off of this, this year and stuff like that, but at least it's not just out there, an empty lot, and we're trying to make it worthwhile, something to look at, basically. And other than that, they're putting in as many trees as they can right now. They've got a few left, I think, but most of the stump grinding was done. Most of this is all on Tim's report, which is in the packet, and you can read what's been done. So with that, I'm just really happy with the group we got.
Okay, very good. I'm guessing, Ann, you don't have anything on special events, and with Chris gone, we don't have a lot going on. We may get something under the clerk's report about some of our winter activities. All right, Grade 8 Club, Georgiana.
Yes, we had our holiday party, and we had 19 people attend at Uprooted for lunch. And we are getting more people attending, some new people, so that's very exciting.
Anything else, Swalco?
There's nothing going on in Swalco at the moment. And
That's a bunch of garbage.
And there'll be a transportation report at the next meeting.
All right, we have no ad hoc committees at this point. Clerk? Reeser?
Yes, a couple things. So our village staff and trustee holiday party is officially scheduled for January 20th, and it will be at Stevens Steakhouse in Gurnee. So we've got that finalized. We have a new business that will be coming to the village in early 2024. They are going to be taking over where the Beer Bazaar was at 17 West Belvedere. It will be a boba tea and snow ice house. So looking forward to that in the early part of the year. Just to kind of let everyone know, as of last week, our electronics recycling dumpster is no longer going to be here at the village. We are advising residents or anyone that needs to utilize that. There is one located at the Avon Township building on Washington.
The reason it was moved is that Public Works found a number of people crawling in and around it and over it, taking things out. And then it also turns out that one of the vehicles that we suspect, we had a burglary, robbery, some of the trucks that park over here with village permission had an auger stolen out of the back, and it happens to be a vehicle that has been here before, but of course, we can't get the license plate. So we decided just to remove temptation.
And then just one other thing that I just want to kind of send out as a reminder to all board and staff members, any type of public business conducted in an email format, if you can remember out of respect for the Open Meetings Act, please do not do a reply to all in any of those. You can keep that communication to a one-on-one. That is best practice.
It's okay to send an email to all, but if you're a recipient, do not reply to all. All right, my report is contained.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, what's happening about the Christmas events that were supposed to be like the gingerbread?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, so we have had some letters to Santa that have been brought in. We have had a number of ornaments that are on our tree that have been brought in. We do have some gingerbread houses that are out in our lobby that we will have you guys view, that were dropped off. So
Okay, just
Numbers were were somewhat
They
slick.
were small, but
That's fine.
yes, we did have some things brought in.
All right, mayor's report is in the packet. Need a
Mayor.
motion?
I just had a question. On your report, you mentioned that we're looking at the lot in front of Public Works for landscaping. Is that the same lot that
Yes.
Wally?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll have more information at the January meeting about that. We've actually received a design plan, no commitment to anything, but I'll share it with the board and go from there.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions?
Can Firestone,
Pardon?
can Firestone City?
Firestone is in their new building as of about a week and a half ago. All right, we need a motion to accept the annual financial report for fiscal year ending April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Richmond,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Duberstein,
Aye.
Koval, Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Need a motion for the approval of the annual treasurer's report fiscal year ending April 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Richmond,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Duberstein,
Aye.
Koval, and Williams.
Aye.
Need a motion for an ordinance adopting a paid leave for all workers policy.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Trustees Richmond,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Duberstein,
Aye.
Koval, and Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ordinance number 23-12-354.
Need a motion for the approval of the Trivessa website redesign agreement for $8,499.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Just a quick question. Will this also include a redesign that will make the mobile version a little more
Yes, it absolutely.
user-friendly? I'm not a fan of the mobile version, which I use the most. And, okay.
All right, any other questions? Roll call.
Trustees Richmond,
Aye.
Priest,
Aye.
Duberstein,
Aye.
Koval, Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Need a motion to appoint George Duberstein to replace Christian Howard as trustee effective January 1, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I'll open the discussion. I have some comments I'd like to make. On December 12th, I sent an email to the board and staff noting Christian Howard's letter of resignation. I included the pertinent section of the Illinois Municipal Code, which explained the process of replacing a resigning trustee. In the email, I indicated that I was going to recommend that George Duberstein be appointed to replace Chris for the remainder of her term. Trustee Williams replied to all with some strong statements. His response included some comments which I wish to respond to. He stated, "This action you are considering taking is inappropriate considering the voters have spoken in this last election. The municipal code requires that I make a recommendation to the board for a replacement. The board decides whether or not to accept that recommendation. If you believe the choice is inappropriate, you can vote against it." Another statement, "It seems to me you are looking for someone that will go along with whatever action you bring to the board," which was the case with George Duberstein. You impugn Mr. Duberstein's integrity based on what it seems to you. You offer no facts to support your contention, nor do you have any insight into the number of times Mr. Duberstein, or in fact the other board members, and I have agreed or disagreed on issues. You also have no idea of the number of times George or the other board members and I have met and discussed issues where we disagreed with the goal of understanding each other's position. I am recommending you reconsider this action, and look for someone, especially a woman, considering the inequity they face in many sectors of our society. Currently, the gender makeup of the board is 4 females and 2 males. George's appointment would make it 3 males and 3 females. I say that's about as equitable as it could be. Also, isn't recommending a candidate based upon their gender discriminatory in and of itself? You stated, power needs to be used judiciously in government and not abused. What legacy do you want to leave when you leave office? You are suggesting that I am abusing my power by making a recommendation as I am required to by state law. Where is the abuse? You also ask me what legacy do I want to leave. My potential legacy does not drive my decisions. My decisions are based upon doing what I truly believe is right for the village. If you're concerned about my legacy, I suggest you look at what has been accomplished in the past 6 years. I believe it speaks for itself. And finally, Mr. Williams, you are welcome to disagree with me on any topic that you wish. And as I have said to you before, you are welcome to come to the office and discuss your concerns. You are also welcome to voice your thoughts during the discussion portion of each vote, and then you can exercise your choice with your vote. Discussion.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, anybody else want to go first? No? Okay. So the first part is what I'm going to stand on. The voters voted in April of 2023 to elect or not elect the trustees that were up. Once the voters speak, that's a sacred vote. By us saying that George is a good person, I will not deny he's a good person, he volunteers, has lived in the community for a long time, but we can't circumvent the voice of the voters, and that's what we're doing here by giving someone a second bite at the apple. So why have we not opened it up to everybody in Hainesville to apply for the position, their qualifications and so forth, bring it before the board? That's that. All the other things I did mean, but that is the main reason why I cannot support this, because we're circumventing. Didn't we all take an oath? We all took an oath to the Constitution, and the vote is sacred. But here we're circumventing it by saying, well, 3 votes. That's really not a lot. He deserves to get a second bite at the apple. It does not work that way. 1 vote, 1,000 votes. When the voters speak, they have spoken. And we're saying, well, we want to circumvent that by giving him another opportunity to sit on the board after he lost the race. That's not fair. And numerous of us have served in the military. You asked anybody, what is the most sacred thing you think in the Constitution? And they'll probably say 1 vote, 1 person, 1 vote. But if we're circumventing their voice after an election because we feel someone has experiences, does that override the voter's voice? I don't think so. And not giving the opportunity for the community to be appointed, that in itself is even just adding more insult to injury.
Did you read the section of the municipal code that I included in the email?
I read all of it.
Did it say anything about votes? Did it say anything about who should or could or couldn't be recommended?
Okay, you worked in the
Yeah,
school
that's
district,
my question.
right? Well, I'm answering it to you. I'm not going to answer it the way you want to hear it. You worked in the school district, right? I'm sure you use critical thinking. Critical thinking is, well, wait a minute. Is there more to this decision than just putting anybody into that vacancy? Critical thinking says, the voters already spoke. We should not circumvent the voters. And that's what we're doing here. And by not letting everybody submit an application to say, hey, I'd like to be on the board. Can you consider me? That's even a bigger problem.
Anything else, sir?
No, but no. But if you think that those aren't important issues, is another issue.
Excuse me, I'd like to kind of put in a little bit on this,
Sure.
because of the fact that you and I had some interaction between, and what I look at, okay, is that the people who you're talking to about, who would like to have a position in this position, had the ability or the opportunity last November to go and pick up a packet and come to here and run for the office and do it. Okay? Georgia did that. The voters, there were voters that voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone that comes now and applies for it, none of our residents are going to be voting for him, except for us. That's it, bottom line. They have an opportunity to come next November to go and pick up a packet and run again.
Okay.
And that's what I look at, that they had the ability and they had the opportunity to run for this office if they really felt like it. And they didn't do it.
Well,
And I look at it, George has has contributed so much to this village and this board.
I don't disagree.
Well,
I don't disagree with you on it, but the point is that if there's a vacancy, do you think if you were to say, ask 100 residents, would you like to apply for this position? We don't know what the number would have been of people that would have said, hey, sure, and so forth. But we won't know that because to your point is, well, you know what, they didn't want to run, George did, he lost, but we're just still going to consider it for the
So you don't agree with what Trustee Crease just said?
No.
You don't agree with his thinking?
No.
Were any, in this process to date, were any laws violated?
Come on, Mayor, you know what, you can manipulate things the way you want. The bottom line is when the voters speak, they speak.
and they did.
I'm not going to circumvent them by saying, well, let's appoint someone who lost the race, yeah, by 3
How
votes.
many
but he
voters,
still
how many
lost.
voters
Vote
voted?
for them except us.
In that one, and you remember how many was there?
I'm sorry,
How many voters voted?
250?
Something.
And what percentage of that is of eligible voters?
Oh, well, I'm not sure how many were registered, yeah.
I
About
believe
5%? 5% of.
that
all
would be about
voters.
5%. So the voters spoke, all 5% of them?
They voted.
And he,
They voted.
and he almost made it.
But he didn't, Mayor, that's the whole point. He did not make it.
All right.
Okay.
He didn't make it.
Right. So-
I followed the law, I made a recommendation, you get to vote, they get to vote.
Well, and
Listen,
you
we're close.
have people sitting here that hopefully they'll remember that because you know what? To circumvent that sacred, that sacred vote is an insult to our voters. And you don't agree that that is?
I don't
And you know
agree.
better than the voters.
I don't agree with you.
So you know better than the voters.
Not a question, now you're wanting me to say what you want to hear.
Well, you wouldn't know well, because that's what you do to us. You know?
Anything else, sir, on the topic?
I would,
Anything else?
I would consider this more seriously because I tell you what, this is an insult to the village and to the board that you submitted someone who you knew lost the election and we were done. Now we're giving them a second bite, but we didn't open it up to the residents of this village. So,
All right.
Can I make a comment?
No?
Okay.
No? Joanne?
If Wally would repeat what he said about the fact that if people were to apply now, because there's a vacancy, how many voters would vote for that person? Or have the opportunity to vote for that person?
No, except for us.
6.
5. Well, 6.
Oh, yeah.
well, the other question would be, did we let the voters know that there was a vacancy? Did we send something out to everybody?
Nobody told me.
Okay,
I
thank you.
didn't know about it at all. I've been
Yeah.
on board.
Kevin, please.
Sorry, I spent 17 years here serving this community. Nobody ever reached out to me and said, hey, Kevin, you've got an open
It's
door.
not open discussion.
I understand that.
It's
I'm
the
making
board
my
speaking.
point known though, right now, after 17 years of service to the community, it would have been nice even if somebody would pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, we got an opening, would you be interested? That's all I'm saying.
Kevin,
I'm not knocking
you walked
George's
into the village
qualifications.
hall. You walked into the village hall and said, I know there's going to be an opening, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you were aware.
Nobody said that there's going to be one.
Okay. All right, any other comments from the board?
Just a few comments. Obviously, you have the authority to appoint or put up to the board your appointment. And so I don't think there's any wrongdoing. It's very logical. George has been a longstanding board member, has great knowledge of the workings of the village. He was, next in line, first runner-up, if we use Miss America terms. But like Kevin said, are we missing an opportunity to reach out to other residents who may have been interested in taking a time on the board, who maybe for whatever was going on in their world in November couldn't pick up a packet and run? Are we creating a smaller group and not bringing some fresh voices? Is it becoming a clique that's developing a groupthink mentality? And I have to say, I don't think that's true with George, because I've been in a lot of meetings where George has voted no when other trustees have voted yes. But it's not George so much as the process that I feel like we're missing an opportunity by not putting this out there to more people. trustees who've been off the board for a while, residents who've been in the community for a while, and who never thought like, oh, it's a political process, I can't run, but who may not be daunted by an appointment.
I've run through this process 2 other times in my time in this chair. And both times we put out postcards to the community. And then they interviewed, people who were interested submit a letter of interest. I interviewed them and I brought 2 people to the board. How many voters got to choose that candidate?
Well, again, if it's an appointment, it's only the board who is voting for them. So I don't think it's, a matter of who are the voters, but are we, the board, missing an opportunity to have someone join our ranks that might bring a different point of view? Maybe a stay-at-home mom, somebody who has a business in the community. Is there a voice that could bring something to our
Different view?
board that?
Sure. Could. I don't deny that.
So for me, I think it's a matter of missing that opportunity of what could have been. Are there other residents who could jump in and bring something new to the board?
You sent me an email asking about this, and my response was just to share with everybody that I was looking for, my preference in making this recommendation was because of having experience on the board versus having 3 first-timers as we go through the next couple of years. And George's term would end in 1.5 years, and he'll be up. That position will be up for re-election.
Which I understand that it's probably easier to have somebody experienced on the board. And I am new to the board in Hainesville, but I'm not new to boards in general. And I've had board experience, so it's, hopefully I'm not, showing the same learning curve as somebody who's never served on a board. Hopefully.
You're doing fine. All
I
right,
served on 2 boards, so very good.
any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Trustees Richmond.
Nay.
Priest.
Yes.
Duberstein.
Yes.
Vogel.
Aye.
Williams.
Nay.
So due to the fact that that an ordinance, resolution, or a motion requires 4 affirmative votes to pass, since 1/2 of the trustees have voted in favor of the motion, though there is no tie, I now call Mayor Daley for his vote.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Motion for adjournment,
So moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting ends at 7:14. Thank you. Congratulations, George.
This is your old signature.
No, that's actually you.
Am I going to get bumped?
I think you're gonna get bumped.
Do I get bumped over?